Great.
Hi, I'm Kim Minch with Real Life Parent Guide, and I'm here today with a friend of mine, Evie, and I want her to introduce herself to you just real quickly. Evie, would you do that?
Sure, yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, Kim. My name is Evie Vieira. I am a trainer, actually. I train preschools, nanny agencies, and I work with parents also. And I have a method called the Meltdown Makeover Method, and which really helps parents and anyone who works with children address meltdowns in a very connected manner. And so that is my passion. I am from a blended family. I have two stepdaughters who are 15 and 13. So we have the teenagers, and then we also have the littles who are 5 and 3. So we have a very rambunctious round of children in our home.
Awesome. And that's kind of specifically why I asked you to join me today. I had an experience the other day and I want to share it with you. And we haven't talked about what this was, but I know this is going to be an authentic conversation based on the topic. So I was invited, let's see, was it Tuesday morning by Real News PR in Dallas. Thank you. Shout out to Jeff Curley. To be on a series of radio shows Tuesday morning regarding an article that came out on CNN about the increase in anxiety in young people due to COVID. Okay. Mm-hmm. So basically what happens is you get asked to do this tour, this radio show tour, and it can be anything. It can be like 2 cities. It can be like, I ended up, I think, doing 9 interviews that morning between 6 and 10 a.m. So you just get plugged into the different stations and you basically get asked questions about this article and about the topic of teen anxiety or young, I don't want to say teen. It was really, the article itself pointed more to anxiety in kids in their 20s. However, we talked about all kids of all ages. So it certainly can apply to your experience as well. But so you get plugged in and you have a conversation about generally the same topic, but you don't know how that other person is going to ask you the questions or what's exactly going to come out of their mouth. So it was a very interesting experience. And you only have about 5 minutes to talk. That's at the most. That's if they give you even that much time. So can you imagine trying to address the topic of adolescent anxiety through COVID in just this short window of time? I found it obviously very difficult to do. And I'm not a super deep person, but I'm a deep person. And so like to try and give an answer. But what I felt was coming through was in the first couple of them, ended up being, give me the quick 3-step answer to how I can pull my kid out of this anxiety. And you know how that, it's difficult. It's not what we do as people who work with parents, is to give the strategy and the quick answer to things. That's what people want. That's what our society and our culture has gotten to. We want the, easy button.
Yeah.
But tell me, so I also am not a person that likes to use inflammatory language, like every kid is having this problem or it's this catastrophic thing. Is there an increase in teen anxiety and young people having anxiety due to the pandemic? Yes, right, there is. But I don't think it's helpful to us to use language that incites more fear in people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So, Evie, what is your experience with, or what have you heard from parents, or even your own personal experience, if you're willing to share? Is there an increase in anxiety in adolescents right now due to the pandemic? And if so, what's your take on that?
Oh boy, that is a loaded question. Where do I even start? I think there is an increased level of anxiety and depression worldwide right now, just because of the circumstances, just because we're not able to live a normal life. And all of a sudden it's kind of like everything's thrown into a blender and we're trying to pick out the pieces individually and figure out, how do we meet our kids' needs for having social connection? How do we send our kids to school? Is the school even open right now? There's so many different things that are happening And honestly, what I have found to be really powerful when I've been talking with parents and just even in our home is just to kind of let go of all of the noise that we can't control and just really focus on the things that we can control. And
Yes.
that has been really empowering during the whole pandemic for my husband and I, because our girls, they're 15 and 13. We have a sophomore who just started driving. Oh dear God, that is a whole other ball of wax. You know, she has her permit now. And then,
Me too.
yeah. And then our almost 13-year-old, she'll be 13 next week. And she's a 7th grader, and she struggled the most because she's an introvert anyway. And so, you know, being stuck in her room all day on her computer, trying to connect with the kids in her class, and being a middle school girl, being a middle schooler anyway is really hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are just so many opportunities for kids to hide and be disconnected. And we've done a lot to just try and draw her out and to really let go of grades right now, and to really let go of all of these external expectations and really focus on trying to just connect with her.
I think one of the things that I wanted to impress upon in these interviews was, you know, we always talk about the idea that we, you know, only have the present moment, we only have today, and at no other time has this been more in our face than right now, because part of the anxiety, no matter what the age, child or parent, quite frankly, is that we don't know when this will change or end. And I think the word normal is no longer to be used. I mean, I think it's an irrelevant word right now. So staying present was one of the messages that I thought was really important, which is hard for people. It's also hard. I think one of the reasons that our kids are having more anxiety is we had such a busy life. We had so much going on, and people didn't have time to think or reflect. And now with that idle time, it makes people, I mean, some people, it makes them highly anxious to not be going, to have that time to reflect. But one of the most important messages that I was trying to get across when I was given the time to was how important it is for parents to work on themselves during this time in order to be emotionally available to their kids who are going through anxiety, right? We always, like, parents want to look for this, what do I do for my kid? How do I, you know, what things do I need to do? What do I need, you know, do we need professional help? Blah, blah, blah. I think one of the, and one of the most important things that we can do as parents is to take care of our own emotional well-being by, you know, getting physically active, journaling, meditation, whatever it is, whatever combination of things. And people have to try these things on for themselves. They don't just like, and what works for me and what works for you might be, you know, totally different, right? Yeah. But to be able to take the time to figure out how you can be the calm in your kid's storm was one of the most important things. And it was funny because some of the morning show hosts were like, I'm like, this is going to sound counterintuitive. And they still tended to want to bring me back to, yeah, but tell me what they can do for their kids. What I'm telling you is when parents take the time and put effort and energy and invest in themselves, it ripples out into the rest of the family. That doesn't mean I do this, I live it every day. That doesn't mean, and I know you do too, that doesn't mean we don't ever have issues or challenges, or that our kids aren't going to experience anxiety, right?
Right.
But we know more how to respond to the situation. We're also more aware and work on being intentional in our conversations with our kids.
Absolutely.
That evening, I was invited to see a webinar. An author by the name of Dr. Ken Ginsberg. Are you familiar with Dr. Ken Ginsberg?
The name is familiar.
Okay, so he wrote this book, Building Resilience in Parents and Teens, which is a book I refer to all the time. And it was so interesting. So Tuesday morning is when I did all these radio interviews. And then Tuesday evening, I attended this webinar. And the whole 90 minutes was really geared toward parents understanding that if they work on their crap themselves, that they're going to be way more able to handle their kids' anxiety and the issues that are coming up for their kids.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I was like, woo woo, woo woo. Like, I couldn't be more, excited. I think we're so used to, like, again, having this, the answers out there, go see this person, read this book. And while there are great, you can gain a lot from talking with other people. I love talking with other people, reading a book. At the end of the day, I think you and I both want to help parents hone their intuition, right? To be able to, like you said, cut out the noise that isn't serving us or our families. All that, we need to be aware of things that are going on in the world, but we also need to have that boundary of, like, these are the children that have come into my life, and these are the ones that I need to be paying attention to and have the relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. So what was your biggest takeaway by being a part of this webinar for 90 minutes? What did you come away that you were like?
Well, I absolutely love the guy. I think it was hysterical because he's on the East Coast. So I think one of the things he's a pediatrician. He's written 7 books about kids and resilience. He is immersed in the teen world and is just an amazing guy. But you could tell by the end of it, he was like in his basement on Zoom, and like he literally was sitting with his knees up on his chair, and he had his water bottle, and he was just super casual. And I just loved that he was so real. And he was like beginning to slur. He was so tired. In fact, we had to like the woman who was facilitating the webinar was like, okay, we're going to let you go now. Cause you're getting tired, but he's clearly passionate. Like he would have talked all night if he could. Right. So I loved that. I loved the way he presented the material in terms of just shifting the way that we relate to our kids and the way we build connection with them, instead of always coming from the position that we have the answer and never being vulnerable with our kids and using lectures and pretending to know it all, which is BS. You and I both know as parents, we don't. Mm-hmm. And by the time our kids are teenagers, they know that too. Mm-hmm. Right? So, I think that those were my big takeaways from it.
That's powerful. That is really powerful.
Yeah, it was awesome. So anyway, do you have any other additional thoughts on the topic of teens and anxiety, and and anything that I didn't bring to light about how we can help our kids?
Nothing really that comes to mind. I think it is imperative that message gets out there right now, that we pour into ourselves, because we have to put our oxygen mask on first. They tell us that every time we fly in an airplane, and there is a reason for that, because honestly, if the parents burn out through this pandemic, where does that leave our children?
Right.
That is not a good place for anybody. Right. And so we need to really pour into ourselves and understand where our triggers are, where our limitations are, and get therapy if we need it. Get help with the kids if we need it. Do whatever we can to build a sustainable future for our families. And really, I really like the idea, going back to focusing on what we have control over, and letting go of all of the expectations that Facebook puts on us, or like all of these external worlds. I think a lot of the time we compare our internal family, like what happens inside our home, with what we see in the external world of what people project. Yeah. And we compare that, and that's not fair. And I think it's really important to do whatever you need to do for your family, and to let go of the rest. Let go of your friends might think, or what the in-laws think, or anybody outside of your home thinks, because you need to take care of you and your family.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that message with me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for this conversation. It's been really enlightening.
Awesome.